Hey everybody, welcome to Live Coding with Jesse. I'm Jesse, and today we're going to do two things. Number one, we're going to put in some sort of desktop notification whenever you lose focus for this app. And number two, we're going to deploy this React Native project as a web app. And there's a couple different ways we could deploy it. I think we're going to go with Github Pages. That way, anybody that checks out the GitHub repo can also easily get to the demo of this. So there's a ton of stuff in the live chat now. I tried to glance through as much as possible just to see what people are asking. It seems like a lot of you are just kind of talking in the chat, and that's awesome. A lot of people saying hi, so hey, what's up? But I did have somebody asking about part 2 of this series. Part 2 has been deleted. It is definitely, I believe it's my fault that it's deleted. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to redo part 2. So that will be available at some point. But for now, just skip to part 3. And hopefully there's not too much that you missed from part 2. But I'm definitely going to try to go back, look at the what I did between part 1 and part 3, and then redo that probably as a live stream to try to make it this like as similar to the original as possible. But just as a quick intro for anybody that's joining for the first time, or maybe hasn't seen all the videos in this series, this is Live Coding with Jesse. So I code mostly React Native projects now. I've done other things in the past, and I don't rehearse beforehand. The goal is just to see a software engineer coding without rehearsing anything, all the mistakes included, try to debug as we go, and try to be as realistic as possible with what my normal coding experience is like. I do have a little bit of a structure to this. So I'm going to set a 25-minute Pomodoro timer soon, and then I'm going to code for 25 minutes, and then I'm going to take a little break and answer questions. So if you're asking a question in the chat and it seems like I'm ignoring you, just hang on for a little bit longer, and once my timer goes off, I'm going to try to get to all the questions. Now, for this particular app, if you want to know like what we're doing, probably go back to the first in this series. So this is part 8 of the series on building a brain-computer app. I do an overview in part 1. So the summary is basically I'm taking this brain-computer device, which I'm going to put on in a second. This is the Neurosity Notion. It's a pretty new, and this has the parts inside of it like you would normally see on a cell phone. And basically what it does is it reads your brainwaves and sends some data, in this case, to a web app that we've created. Well, actually, it's a mobile and web app that we've created with React Native. Now, you can get a lot of different data, but in particular, the data that I'm using for this app is data on focus. So the goal of the app is just to let you know when you've lost focus. So I'm going to put this on, and you can see on the screen that it's measuring my focus. So it probably needs a second to get ready. There we go. So I got a little bit of focus going on here. You see, sometimes I'm losing it, which I imagine while I'm trying to talk and live stream, I probably won't be super focused. But right now, if we were on a phone, we would get a vibration and the color of the screen would change when I lose focus. But we can't vibrate on the web, right? So we need to add something into the web. And I'm thinking maybe some sort of notification, potentially a sound. That's the plan right now. So let's check out in our app here. And you can see this, the link to the GitHub repo is in the description of the video. So if you want to check out the code and follow along as we're going, feel free to do that. I've kept everything pretty simple in one file. app.tsx is where everything's going to be happening. A little bit later on, we're going to go into the Package Json file as well. and add a few things. But for right now, we're just going to stick in this app.tsx file. And we need to find out where we're setting the current notifications at for mobile, which is the vibration. So let's go through here and just check out some of our functions. There we go. Here's where we're doing the vibration. So this is where we want to do this as well for our notification. So we're going to need to get some code to do this. So I figure we'll look that up. There is an app already that I use. It's my Pomodoro timer app, and it's called PomPom, and it was built by someone that used to watch the live stream all the time. His name is Harshit. So let's go to his GitHub repo and see how he's done it in his app, and see if we can borrow a little bit from his app for our app. So let me see if that's the name of his repo. Looks like there's a lot of repos like that. So let's just go to Harshit's repo then. We'll just go to GitHub. And he's pretty active, so he should actually be right in my activity. There we go. And let's check out his repositories. And type. Oops. Let's do language. We're going to pick JavaScript. Looks like all this stuff is JavaScript. So let's see if we can find it. Pom. Does he not have a repo for it? Oh no, maybe he doesn't have it. Timer? No. I was hoping he'd have the code for it, but maybe he doesn't have the code for it. Alright then. I guess we'll just have to look it up. I'll go through quickly just to see if he has it. And it's just named something else. But no, April 30, 2018. Yeah, that's going back kind of far. I don't see it. So let's just look it up then. So show notification from web. So MDN is a great resource, Mozilla Developer Network, and we're going to use the notifications API. So let's see how we do it. We definitely need permission. And so I guess we're going to have to request permission. And then, let's see. Oh, cool. There's a little code. Yeah, let's just grab this code for now and then modify it for what we need. So let's throw it in here. And we can kind of read through this and see what's happening here. All right, so we need to check. That's a good check. See if browser supports notifications. And let's see if I don't really want to alert. So let's get rid of the alert. What we're going to do is instead move all of this into the if statement. So we're only even going to attempt this if the browser supports notifications. Let's get rid of this else. So we're going to say if there are notifications. So now we're going to say, so if the browser does support notifications, we're going to check to see if permission has already been granted. Okay, so if it has been granted, then we'll do something here. Otherwise, we need to ask. Cool. And then not only that, but we also need to check to see if the window object even exists, right? Because if we're not on web, this window object doesn't exist. That's going to throw an error. So React Native gives us an easy way to check for this, which we're going to do in just a minute. But I'm going to change this up to an arrow function just to match the rest of the app. And I'm going to say this notification init is what I'm going to call it. And we're going to run this only if we are in the web. So let's go up here to where we import React Native. Okay, and we're going to import platform. So platform is going to let us know if we're on the web or not. So we're going to use, let's see, one of these use effects would be a good place to check. And maybe down here, actually, let's just search. If we have a use effect that I'm currently using as, there we go. This particular use effect, right? So React has these life cycle hooks, right? And basically it does things at different points in the component life cycle. A use effect hook with the second argument passed in as an empty array. So the first argument is a function, the second argument is an array. If it's an empty array, this happens when the component mounts. So this should only happen basically for our app when the app loads. So we're already doing a check here for async storage. Okay. But let's do another check here, and let's say if platform.os equals web, then we want to call notification init. Okay. All right, so now if we're calling notification init, we'll be down here, right? Now we're going to check to see if the browser supports notifications. If it does, and permissions granted, now we can do notifications. So I'm not going to immediately show a new notification. I'm going to leave that code there for a second, but what we're going to do is we're probably going to set notification, and we're going to set notifications to true, because we're going to set our state here. And let's see. Otherwise, we need to request permission. So we already have our code here to request permission. So the browser is going to ask that. If permission is granted, then we're also going to do set notifications to true. All right. Now, if for some reason it's not granted, let's set our notifications to false. If you're a little bit lost, it should make a lot more sense once we actually demo this. All right, and we haven't even created this part of state yet, so let's do that now. Otherwise, nothing's gonna work. So we can say const notification set notifications use state, and we're going to set it by default to false. Okay. All right, so now let's go back down here, and right here was the use effect where we set the vibration, right? And let's go here now, and first we're going to check to see if notification is true. Right, so at this point, if notification is true, that means that we've already checked to see whether or not we're on web. So we don't have to recheck that. And we've already done the check to see if notifications are available in that browser, like if it's a new enough browser that it has notifications. So we've done those checks, and we've also checked to see whether the user has enabled notifications, whether they need to enable, or whether they've rejected them. So at this point, we should just need to say notifications. So if notifications are true, I'm going to use a ternary here. So, and it's actually kind of a shortcut, right? So if notifications are true, we're going to do something. And this is what we're going to do. So we're going to do notification. I'm going to say new notification. And let's see if this will work like this, if I don't actually have to create the variable, if this will just throw it. I'm not sure because I haven't really worked with notifications before in code. So let's see how this works. And let's just say stay focused. All right. Now, I'm not sure if there's the equivalent of a cancel notification. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Well, we may have to come back here and check out the documentation a little bit more. All right, so now it's asking me if I want to allow notifications, so I'm going to allow. Now let's see if we get one. Look, we got notified. Oh, you can't see it because of my face. Let me change this. All right, so way down in the corner, it's small. I don't know how to make it bigger, but stay focused came. It says stay focused. Right, so we are getting in the notification to stay focused. So that's awesome. That works. Actually, cool. We just got a donation or a sign up or something. I'm not sure what it is, but Dion Demucci just donated a free code camp. So thank you very much for that. I'm a little new with the whole being able to have donations and stuff in the chat, so I'll try to look for those and give you all a shout out when I see it. I think it's really cool, and it's going to be very helpful for freeCodeCamp though. So that's awesome. And Quincy's in the chat too. So if you don't know, Quincy is the founder and head of freeCodeCamp. So thank you so much for being in the chat, Quincy. It's always cool when Quincy's here. All right, so we have the notifications here, and it's actually giving me like a tiny little noise, like a notification noise, which is cool because I had thought about adding in our own noise, but I don't think we need to. I think that notification is fine. I don't want to be like extra annoying to the user because I'm trying to keep them focused, not have them lose their focus, right? So if we're too intrusive, like, well, the giant red flashing screen might already be kind of intrusive, but if we're too intrusive with noise and everything, it might just be too much. But I think that's pretty awesome. The only thing I want to look up is like, can we manually take away the notification? Like, let's say they get focused again. I don't want them to have to come down here and clear that notification out. Let's see if we can cancel it. So we got all our methods here. Event handlers, let's see. So let me make that bigger. Sorry, that was probably way too small for everybody. But let's go here and see. So notification actions. Interesting. Body. This looks like all the stuff we can put in our notification. Wow, that's interesting. I didn't realize there was so much to these notifications. This is really cool. And we can actually do a vibration, which I suppose that would work. Like if you were running this in the browser on your phone, that's kind of cool. I don't think I'm going to implement that today, but it's good to know. On close, on air, on show. Notification close. Cool. All right, let's click this and see how we would do notification close. This feature is available in web workers, in secure contexts. Oh my gosh. I must be like losing focus pretty frequently here. So, all right. So I think we do need to give our notification a name. And so then we can actually call close on it. And then let's see how we do that. So I'm going to change this because I don't know that we can do this inside of our little shortcut ternary here. So let's change this to an actual if. I hate to do so many nested ifs, but in this case, we'll just go with it. Well, this project has never been refactored or anything. This is still pretty new, so don't take what I'm doing as like the best way to do anything. In this live stream, a lot of times what we're trying to do is just get stuff working, and sometimes we go back and do a little refactoring, but for the most part, let's see. Const. There we go. Const n is notification, and actually this can't be. I got to define this out here. So let's say this. Let did I call? Okay, no, I called state notifications, so we're good. Let notification. It's gonna be mad that I didn't has any type. I didn't give it a type. I'm not really sure what the notification type is in TypeScript, so we're gonna just leave it at that for now. Notification equals. Now what we should be able to do is say notification dot close. All right, so let's see if that works. Whoa, did not work. Cannot read close of undefined. Okay. Maybe we need this. Let's see. Let's see if this helps us out. Nope. Cannot read property close of undefined. Checking the chat really quick just to see if anybody has any comments about what I'm doing right now. Occasionally you all figure out how to do the thing that I'm trying to do and tell me about it in the chat. All right, so that didn't work. Why did it not work? Looks like the only different thing that we did, they added these options. I mean, this is inside of an event listener. Oh, okay, I see. Anthony's saying the initialization is in the if statement, and I'm closing in the else statement. Is only being defined in the if. All right, did I mess up the scope? Let's check that out. So, if else. All right, so basically what potentially could be happening here is that since this is an else, all right, how about this? If notifications let's see, if there is a notification, then we close the notification. Let's see if that works. It doesn't look like it's actually closing it, though. Look at my action center has all these notifications. I wonder if it can actually close, though. Like, I don't... Usually when I get a notification, it stays in my action center. And it's not... like, it doesn't get closed, right? Is that a thing that happens? Like, that websites can close them? Let's see. Got some of you are helping out in the chat, so let's check out what you're saying. All right, so I'm getting a bunch of different suggestions here. You try to keep them straight. Let me check it. I got about 4 minutes left before I'm going to go back to the chat and answer a few questions. And then after I answer some questions, then we'll actually deploy this. I wonder... I'm not really seeing much of a difference between when I actually put this in and when I didn't. Let me... Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to leave this out for now because I don't actually see any difference on my screen. Oh, you know what? I forgot that y'all can't see the notification. Basically, what's happening is the notifications are going on and off. Whether I have this code in here or not. Now, this might be dependent on browser and operating system, but in terms of being on Chrome on a Windows 10 computer, it seems like the notifications only stay on the screen for a second and then go off anyway. So I don't really see that we need to like manually close the notification, even if this was working, which I'm not even sure if it's working because it didn't seem like anything was different. But what was different is we did get a few errors whenever we were doing this. So let's get rid of that now. And let's just do this. Let's get rid of this for now. You know, at some point, maybe we'll add something else into the notifications. Might not be a bad idea. If we ever like actually get a real logo for this, maybe we can throw that in there. You know, make it look a little bit nicer. But for right now, I think that basically gives us something else. You know, mainly what I wanted is, if I'm on a desktop and I'm using this, like I'm probably not going to be staring at this screen all the time, right? So the change that I see is not going to help me. It was different whenever you could have the phone, right? The phone app one from previous episodes, you could potentially just set your phone out and see the color change and feel the vibration, and that would warn you to stay focused. But on a desktop, the color change isn't going to do anything. You're probably working on something else, and you don't have it up on your screen. You need something else. You can't have vibrations. So this notification should come up on top of whatever you're working on. So I think we have kind of mission accomplished in terms of what the point was for that. So I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to put this down here. And let's create a pull request. Or I'm not going to do a pull request. I'm just going to merge this straight into master because it's just a small project at this point. So let's do a get status just to see what's changed, which only app.tsx has, which is what we should expect. We'll do a get commits am, and we'll add this as a new feature, and we'll say show desktop notification on web. Oh, I don't need to do that. I can just do a get push. When I'm at work, I always have to do a get push origin and then whatever branch I want to push to and do like a legitimate pull request on a separate branch. So I'm used to doing it like that. When it's just my own private project here, I don't worry about that. So you can just do get push and it'll go right to your origin by default, whatever you branch on. All right, cool. I don't know if I'm messing up. It's possible that all my headphones or something is messing up the focus on here, but I feel like it's going up and down really fast. We may have to try to figure out if it's just me or if there's something up with how this is going up and down so much, like something in terms of code or anything. But I guess when I try to focus, I can keep the focus a little bit higher. So maybe it's just hard to focus talking and coding at the same time. All right, so that's cool for the first part of the live stream. I'm going to set, let's say, a 5-minute timer, go to the live chat, answer a few questions, and then we're going to come back. We're going to build this for the web, and we're going to deploy it to GitHub Pages. So I'm scrolling up, and I'm just going to start up at the top and answer as many questions as I can. All right, so I see the questions about part 2 in the series, which I explained that at the beginning. So if anybody's interested in the missing part 2 of this series, then go back to the beginning of this stream when it's done, and I gave an explanation for that. Andre says, I recently started learning JavaScript, and I noticed that everyone talks about React. What is it? There's a lot of good discussion in the chat about that, so if you're interested in hearing all that discussion, scroll back in the chat to the beginning of the chat, and you can see that. But basically, React is a JavaScript library that helps you build out like the front end of your app. It has some different components to it, a certain way of doing styling, and one of the biggest things in my mind is the way it handles state management and updates. Like updates as your users clicking around, things change, right? It's very nice. I like how it handles that. So I don't want to go into like a big discussion of React right now because I don't think I have time for it anyway. But basically, the short answer is it's a it's a JavaScript library that helps you build UIs, user interfaces. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot of discussion about this. I'm scrolling through. A lot of people saying hi. I see all the hellos. Hey, everybody. We have people from all over the world here. We have people from Tanzania. Let's see. India, Nepal, Somalia, Pakistan, Palestine, Vietnam, Lithuania, Chicago. Very cool. Very cool. Everybody's watching from all around the world. Shubham asks, should I watch previous videos or directly watch this? Suggestions, please. I think you're fine to watch this right now, like just to see what's going on. If you want to get a better understanding of what we're doing, then you might want to watch the previous ones. But you don't have to. Just ask any questions if you're not sure what's going on at some point. Sajid asks, what do you mean by brain app? I mean this app. The main data that this app is working with is coming from your brain through this brain-computer interface. So that's what I mean when I say brain app. We're working with data, live data from the brain. Swahan says, I'm a beginner in programming. Can you tell me where to start? I definitely recommend starting with freeCodeCamp.org. Check out the lessons there. Go through them. It'll give you a great introduction to some types of programming. And then you can decide from there whether you want to keep going with it and what type of programming that you want to do. It's totally free. I did it when I was a beginner, and a lot of people have used it, and it's helped them go from not knowing anything in programming to being professional programmers. Right. Raphael from Brazil is here. My oldest son's name is Raphael, so what's up? Great name. LearnTech says, it's night at my town, will be available tomorrow. This will definitely be available as soon as I'm done with the live stream. Usually give it a minute or two, and it'll be available to watch the recording, almost immediately when I'm done with the stream. Let's see. All right, my timer went off, so let's go back and let's launch this thing. And I have the Expo documentation up on my screen right here. I'm kind of glad that my face is now covering up the notifications, because every time I lose focus, it keeps popping up now. I think this app is definitely going to work well on desktop, because the desktop notifications are becoming so annoying. It is making me really want to learn how to stay focused. So I think this is going to be a great thing. All right, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at this building step, and then we're going to skip down to the Github Pages step. So first thing, we're going to do this build. It says we can actually optimize for speed. I've never run this before, so let's try it out. We can do npx expo optimize. Let's try it out and see what happens. I don't know if we need to close down our server or keep it open or what in terms of our local server, so let's just try it and see if it works. All right, let's see what happened. Cannot optimize images without sharp CLI. Run this command again after successfully installing sharp. All right. Oh, for those of you who watched the last couple episodes where we were working on getting this app into the Apple App Store, I'm still working on that. Evidently, that demo mode we put in, it worked fine on Android, but for some reason the testers said they couldn't get it to work. So I don't know if we need to do another build and submit it, but that's what I'm going to try to do. So I'm not going to do that on a stream, since we did a stream where we did a build and submitted it. So I'm probably just going to rewatch that stream and follow along with what I did before and do the same steps to build it and re-release and see if that works. But when this is done for web, at least those of you who want to try this app and don't have an Android phone, now you'll be able to try it on the web. So hopefully that'll open it up to more users. All right, so it looks like this worked. Now let's see if this npx expo optimize works now. Cool. All right, and it looks like basically all we had was our icon and our splash, which, oh yeah, we did create those because we did that for the other stuff. Cool. By other stuff, I mean the Android and iOS apps. We created an icon and a splash screen. And we saved 148 bytes. Not really sure that it was worth it. In a bigger project, that might actually be worth it. But since we have no, we really don't have anything in terms of assets. We have the bare minimum, right? The icon and the splash screen. So now we can move on and do Expo Build Web. All right, and let's get that going. Not sure how long this will take. I'm guessing not that long since there's not a whole lot to the project. But this is going to create a new web directory. So we have this build web directory here that we didn't have before. And that's where our build files are going to be. Let's open that up and see. Oh, where'd it go? We lost it. Where'd it go? There it is. Now let's see what's in here. So now we have a bunch of files in here. And this is what's going to get hosted. So got all kind of stuff, progressive web app stuff, which is sweet. Very cool. That's actually cool. So we have, I'm going to see what icon they have for this.
Hi, Daddy.
Oh, sweet. So it actually took our icon that was in our assets and it made an Apple Touch icon, Chrome icon. Very cool. I didn't know it did all that. That's very useful. See what it did. I don't think we'll be able to see that. Oh, it even made a little favicon. That's very cool. I like that. Whoever, probably Evan Bacon. So shout out to Evan Bacon, who I don't think he's watching the stream right now. He has before, but he works at Expo and he's been doing a lot of work for the Expo Web stuff. So if I had to guess, I'd say it was him that did all this stuff. And that's really a nice touch to automatically create all the icons and everything like that, because doing that manually always, it's not a lot of work, but it always seems like a pain once you get to this part where you actually want to launch it. And, you know, now you got to go like into an image editor. It just feels weird. And it's something that is easy to forget to do. And then when you realize you have to do it, it's just like, I got to go in here and do this now. So I don't know. That's just how I feel. I'm not really into image editing, so that's not my thing. So that's very cool. And now we can deploy. So let's go to GitHub Pages. And we already have a Git repo. The remote is already our GitHub repo, so we can skip that. But we do need to do our yarn add D, which means add as a development dependency, GH pages. So let's do that. If you have a small like project that you're working on and you need to host it somewhere, I definitely recommend GH Pages. It's very easy to do. And let's open our Package Json now. It's pretty easy to do, and it keeps everything central to GitHub, and it doesn't cost anything. So it's a great place to start if you're not to the point in your project yet where you really want to put a lot of money into it. It's, you know, I have a lot of just kind of fun projects that I don't know if I'll ever do anything more with, but it's really cool to be able to try them out, or when people, like I tell people about them and say, oh yeah, let's check this out, and I can just click a link in GitHub and do a little demo. So we have our scripts already out. So we can't really copy and paste this entire thing since we already have other things in our package JSON. So now we have a deploy and a pre-deploy. The pre-deploy is just the Expo Build Web that we did already. And then our deploy uses GitHub Pages to deploy this to GitHub, which we are going to run that in a minute. And we're going to have to put in our home page, which we don't have at all. So let's do our home page. We're going to have to change it, obviously. This is not our home page. So Yeah. Oh, there we go. So the documentation uses Evan Bacon's GitHub. So now I'm I'm really sure that he's the one that built this. So we need to change that to the GitHub for this project. So we're going to go to GitHub now and get that URL. Stay focused. So now we can see this is linked to the GitHub repo that we're using. So let's save that. And we'll go back here to the documentation and see finally we can just do yarn deploy. So let's try it out. See if it's working. Cool. It's running Webpack. We're exceeding the size limit. That's interesting. I wonder why we're exceeding the size limit. Oh well. Very cool. It's deployed. It's published. So we may need to work on our file sizes here at some point, but it should be published. So let's go to GitHub now and let's see. What did I do? I accidentally did that. Let's see what we have here. We have a GH Pages branch now, which let's just see what gets deployed. So you can see all that stuff in our static web, our web build directory that we had just checked out. That's all now pushed here. And we should be able to go to, I'm trying to think what I don't remember what the default URLs are. So we're going to have to figure that out for a minute. Let's go to our settings though. And options. There we go. So if we go down here to GitHub Pages, here's the options for that. So if you do this on your own on a different project and you don't follow these steps, like let's say you're not using Expo, this is where you would go to use GitHub Pages. So there's a couple things you could do. It's actually, it's very cool. You can use a custom domain. You can, if you want to do like Jekyll, you can do a theme here. But otherwise, you can take any branch, right? So we're using the GitHub Pages branch. And that was set like by default through Expo. But I could choose any branch I wanted to. Or any folder. Like if I had a docs folder in my master branch, insert it from that branch or that folder. So there's a lot of flexibility here. But anyway, the URL is here. And this is standard. So like anything that I have on GitHub Pages, if I were to go to jesseryule.github.io / the name of the project, then that would take me to the site. So let's see. Focus. Uh-oh. Is it not working? All right, let's inspect it and see what's happening. Failed to load resource. Failed to load resource. Oh no. Looks like looks like it's not working. What happened? Yeah, stay focused, Favicon. Stay focused, manifest. All right, so it looks like it's not finding what it wants to find. Let's check this out. So it should be finding this stuff. All right, so static. That's Interesting that it's not finding this stuff. Let's double check our documentation. Oops. This one isn't working now either. Why is that? Oh no. It literally broke. Let's run this again. Let's start our local server again. Just see if we can get it to run. Okay. All right, that's running now. All right, so we're running locally again. But for some reason, this one is not working. And it looks like it can't find any of the resources, which is kind of leading me to believe that maybe it's a path issue. Let's see if it's finding anything. Yeah, it looks like nothing, basically. So, wondering if there's something else we need to change in the project. Something we need to do differently. Let's see. So let's go back to our... We can get rid of that. Let's go here. All right, so maybe we need to do our build with the package JSON. Is it scripts, pre-deploy, build, and deploy? All right, it looks like there are more detailed instructions under that. So let's follow this. We did that. Deploy your app. Also make sure you put source code. We did that. Configure your package JSON. We've done that. Pre-deploy is automatically run before deploy. Generate a production build of your app with yarn deploy. Your app is not available at the URL you set as your home page in package JSON. Oh, maybe... You know what? I set the wrong homepage. That's the problem. If somebody is trying to tell me that, apologies, but I set the wrong homepage. So this is actually the homepage that we want, right? This is the page of the repo. And that's why I can't find anything. So let's save that. So at that point, make sure you use the page... the GitHub Pages URL, the one that your demo will be at, not the URL for your GitHub repo. So that is a different URL. So that makes sense actually. So let's do yarn deploy now. Which it's oh no. What did I do? Focus, web build, PWA, directory not empty. Okay. It needs it to be empty? That's weird. I mean, we can definitely delete that. So I'm removing that. So web build rm-rf is a very powerful command. It'll delete everything recursively. So we just did that in web build. We're going to run this again because the error that we got was saying, hey, this directory has something in it, which it didn't like. So you would think that you'd be able to keep running deploy and you wouldn't need to manually delete that. So maybe we set it up wrong. Maybe it's something wrong with the project, but either way, like if you get that error, then you just need to delete that. You don't have to do it with the command line if you don't want to. You could just go in and through the UI and delete it. All right, let's try this again. Whoops. Stay focused. Let's make sure the latest commit, 34 seconds ago. Yeah, that seems like... that should have worked by now. There we go. I had to empty the cache, and look, now we have it. So let me get rid of what I was doing here. All right, we'll close that out. In fact, I'm just gonna close out our local server completely. There we go. And we're gonna link up the Notion. So let me grab my device ID from my other screen. Put that in there. Put in my email. And I'll grab my password. Nice. Sure, what that. Cool. So now on GitHub, I'm running this. It's working. Should be getting notifications. Let's see if I'm getting it from. There we go. Allow notifications. Cool. So now I'm getting notifications from my GitHub page, which you can see down in the corner there. I know it's really small. I really don't know how to make notifications bigger, but it's working. So now anybody can go there. Like even right now, you could go there and you could run this. Now, if you don't have a Notion headset, which most of you probably don't, because it's still kind of, I don't know if it's like officially you can buy it, like anybody can buy it right now, or if it's still kind of like in development, but still, I don't think there are that many of them out there yet. So if you want to just kind of like play around with it and see if it works, you can type in test as your device ID and like leave email and password blank and hit submit, and it'll just have random numbers come up. So like at least you can try it out. Otherwise, you can try. Whoa. Oh, that was weird. An error, invalid path. Oh, that's that error that came up before. I think we have something for that. So I believe what happened is my password manager put in the email address for device ID, and that @ symbol was not, you can't put that in there. So it didn't like that. But otherwise, I would need to put in like my device ID, email and password again. I could sign in, and it should work. Cool. So mission accomplished for today. I want to see if there's anything else I need to commit. Whoa. All right. Splash. Package Json. You unlock. Oh, yeah, of course, our package JSON. I'm just going to add everything, and we'll do git commit. I didn't have to put the A flag there. It's just habit. Let's build. There we go. Cool. All right, so we now have our app deployed successfully on the web. We previously deployed it to the Android App Store. What do you call that? The Google Play Store. And we have unsuccessfully attempted to deploy at the Apple App Store, but I'm going to retry that. So we've tried twice, and it hasn't worked. So I'm going to try it again and see if we can get that in there. But, yeah, at that point, I don't know what we'll do next with this. I don't know if we'll upgrade this or we'll move to a different project or what. So let me know what you think, like in the comments or on Twitter or whatever. and let me know, like, would you like to keep working on this brain computer interface project and add in some more features? Would you like to move to some type of different project? If so, what would you like to see? For now, though, I'm going to answer some more questions and try to get through all your questions here before I end the stream. Let me find where I left off. I guess I don't need this on anymore. All right, so we have a question. Is there any way to set the state in a big object with useState rather than all those individual useState calls? Yeah, that's a great question. So let's look at this in the app here. So we do have quite a few set state calls here. What we could do, we could have an object that does useState. But what I've found is that if I have an object for useState, especially if there's nested values in that object, for some reason, like, things just don't get updated like I want them to get updated. So what we could use instead is something called useReducer. And then we could pass in, we could have an object for all the state using useReducer, have it set up similar to Redux, and that has worked for me. That might be a better way to go about what we're doing with this app, since we have so much state here. It's starting to get a little bit crazy. But yeah, that's definitely, that's a great question. And I think, you know, useReducer is probably the way to go if you start to get a lot of state that you're trying to handle. Dan L says, love your vids. Thanks. I appreciate that. Ace of Spades says 135 repos. What a mad lad. Was that when we were checking out Harshit's repos? He's a great programmer. So, although you should, when you see someone's GitHub and they have a lot of repos, that like total repo count includes things that have been forked. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they're like maintaining 135 repos. So just kind of take that for what it's worth there. You know, somebody could potentially have none of their own repos and just like to fork other people's repos. Let's see. So pretty much. So I'm looking for questions at this point. Brother Philip says, I have a question. What if you're trying to build with an SDK, but the documentation is trash? That's a tough one. You know what? This is actually something that I do if I can't find answers with the documentation is I'll go into GitHub and I'll try to find other people that are using what I'm using. So I'll go into the GitHub and I'll go to a search, right? And what I do is I would search for something that is particular to that SDK. Like, for instance, Notion, right? So I'd go in and I'd say notion.focus. I'd copy that and I'd put it in here because I figure, like, what are the odds that somebody's going to have notion.focus and not be using Notion, right? So I'd go in here, I'd go into the code, I'd select it, and I'd say, probably want to try, like, JavaScript, right? I'm looking for some JavaScript. And I'm going to try to see, like, does somebody else have Notion.focus? And actually, it looks like a lot of them have Notion. It's not, I wonder if I could do it like this. See if I could do, like, an exact match. Okay, there we go. That's a lot less. So now I can see, all right, I want only the repos that are exactly using, since I put those double quotes around it, notion.focus, right? Now I can see, okay, here we go. These are the repos that are using that. So I can go in and say, all right, let's say I only want JavaScript. Whoops. Didn't we just see that? Showing 2 available code results. That's really weird. Isn't that weird? Like, obviously this is JavaScript. That's interesting. Anyway, like I can go in here and say like, all right, well, here's an example of somebody using Notion.focus, right? This is exactly what we're trying to do. I can click into this and I can see, all right, this is how they used it. Sometimes that helps me because if the documentation is really bad or the documentation is wrong or outdated, at least if you could find somebody else that's using what you're trying to use and see how they implemented it, it gives you something to try. So that's kind of my go-to. Obviously, if you could find it on Stack Overflow or something like that, that's awesome too. But this is nice because you get to see the code in context of a real project, and you get to see like exactly like how old is this? Like, all right, this code was in here on October 12th, 2019. It's pretty new. So you can judge like, all right, this code maybe is 10 years old. I don't want to use it versus something that's way newer. But it gives you I think it's kind of a nice way to see like real world examples of stuff. Ace of Spades says, any books you can recommend on optimizing your code? Really having a hard time not making it a messy wall of text. I don't really have any books that come to mind in terms of optimizing code. I don't know. If anybody knows of any books for like optimizing your code, put them in the chat. To be honest with you, like I don't really read a lot of coding books. I'm more like I like kind of tutorials and videos. I actually read probably a lot of documentation now for the different like tools that I'm using. So I'm not great with the book recommendations in terms of coding. Thomas Yeager says, why not use Context API or Redux to set notifications at the global state level? Won't you be using notification state in any other components? Actually, normally that's a great idea, but it turns out that in this project, I don't have any other components yet. So everything's in app.tsx. I decided to leave everything in there just for simplicity for the live streaming because I figured instead of trying to click around to different components, I'd put it all in one. I normally like to have a lot more components, but I thought I'd try it like this just to see how it goes. I'm not exactly sure whether I like it or not, to be honest with you. I don't know. This length of component seems a little long to me. Like I could definitely do it. But in terms of like UI, it is very simple. So like I don't think it would make that much sense to split the UI out into its own components at this point because it's so simple. But the logic is gotten quite large, so it's possible that I could split out some of the logic into their own files. Maybe I like to keep like a utils, like a utilities folder, and break up some stuff into there. So that's a good point. Like if you are going to be sharing state, then potentially you would want to use Context API or Redux to share state if your app was larger, more complex. Emmanuel Sanchez says you should erase the set notification false in notification init. Did I not? Let's see where that's at. Erase that. You saying that's probably not needed? I agree that that's probably not needed. I was just thinking if there was some way that, I don't know if this is possible, that someone who maybe had previously granted permission would somehow not grant permission. I don't know. But you're right. Like it seems like if they even got to this point, then the permission is obviously not denied. I don't know what the other states could be. Is it just denied or granted? Is there some other state? Anyway, you're right, though. This is probably unnecessary. When I get the notifications working, Quincy in the chat says toasty. And then he said, get it because it's a toast notification. I did get it. Someone asked what language this was. It's TypeScript. So it's JavaScript and with React Native. And I am using TypeScript, although this is not like fully typed. So I'm using TypeScript very lightly. Quincy says, thanks for sharing your wisdom here with everyone, Jesse. You're welcome. Thanks. Thank you so much for the opportunity and for being here in the chat. Noel says, what can I do with a brain computer? You could do a lot of cool stuff with it. So you could do like we're doing with our app and monitor your focus. You could help monitor your level of calm. Like if you're trying to meditate or something, try to get your calmness to a certain level. You can actually link it up to other actions. So on-screen actions like clicking a button or something like that, or with Internet of Things, you could link it up. So if you think a certain thing, it may turn a light on or off. Now, what it all is very basic, but potentially, like if you linked it up in certain ways, you could do pretty complex things just with your thoughts. So I'd like to do more with that on like future streams. This is kind of like my first idea. I do have other ideas of what to do with this, so we might get to some of that, later on. Gloriousness says, is there a Selenium tutorial on this channel? I don't know for sure. I don't remember seeing a Selenium tutorial, but there is a ton of content on this channel, so it's entirely possible it's there. Dion Demucci asks, what hardware will you use for the interface? So I think I explained this already, but I'm just going to throw it out there again. This is the Neurosity Notion headset. There are other brain-computer interface headsets that you could get. Probably, so one that's pretty inexpensive is the Muse headset, M-U-S-E. I haven't worked with it personally, but I've seen other people work with it. One that's a bit more complex is I believe it's OpenBCI. That one may require you to like 3D print some stuff. I believe you can buy a kit to build it without 3D printing. It's been a while since I checked on that. So there are a few other options. But I'm using the Neurosity Notion, which comes with a very kind of easy to use JavaScript API. I've gotten to the point in the chat where we were kind of going back and forth about the code. So I'm trying to skip around and make sure, or skim through and make sure I don't miss another question that I didn't see already. All right, we have seen a few questions about what is this app? What is the purpose of this app? I go over it a little bit at the very beginning of this stream, so you can check that out. If you want a more in-depth explanation of it, go all the way back to part 1 of this series. And at the beginning of part 1, I think I explain in depth what this app is all about. Fuad, sorry if I mispronounced your name, says, do you recommend using Bootstrap for layout? Bootstrap is nice. I prefer material design based frameworks. I kind of like material design. I've done a lot of projects with it, so I can implement material design stuff very quickly now since I've had so much practice with it. So that's what I like, but Bootstrap is certainly a good way to go. It's very popular. Love Overflow says, why are you using TypeScript versus something like Python or JS? I use TypeScript at work, so I thought, why not use TypeScript for this project? It'll give me a little bit more practice. I don't really know much about Python. I've done some basic Python stuff, but that was years ago. And so I'm a JavaScript developer primarily, so that's why I kind of stick with JavaScript. I figure I have a lot more knowledge to share about JavaScript and TypeScript than I do about anything else, so I may as well stick with that for my live streams. I don't have anything against any other languages. That's just what I'm more talented at. Christoph asks if I'm married. Yes, I'm married, and I have 4 kids. Everybody's shouting out where they're from. Let me go through. So we got Nigeria, Germany, Belgium, Brazil, Netherlands, Chile, Morocco, Colombia, Netherlands, Serbia, India, Brazil, Morocco, Asgard, nice, Russia, Egypt, Kenya, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, nice. We got people from everywhere. That is awesome. Tanmay says, I made a brain-controlled Android game. I use the emotive headset. Oh, very cool. I'm not familiar with the emotive headset, but that's pretty sweet. I'd like to do a game with this as well. Edward wants to know how long it takes to become a good programmer in React. It's hard to say for sure. Really, that just depends on so many other factors. So I couldn't say how long it would take any one person, because it really depends on their previous experience and how much time they have to dedicate to learning and practice. Pseudo Crypto says, best coding channel. I'm going to assume that's a statement and not a question, and say that thank you for saying freeCodeCamp is the best coding channel. Curious Soul says freeCodeCamp.org is awesome. I agree. Thank you. Pseudo Crypto asks if anybody is into cryptocurrencies. I do have some investments in cryptocurrencies. I'm not like all about it, but I just have a little bit of money in a couple different cryptocurrencies. Himanshu asked what browser I'm using. It's Google Chrome. Okay, Andre Romanoff mentioned that the homepage name was wrong. Thank you for that, Andre. I wish I would have seen that, because you definitely caught that before I did. So shout out for catching my mistake before I did. Whoa, sorry, the scroll bar just jumped on me in the live chats. I lost my place. There we go. Preac says rm-rf, which is the command I used, is the path to getting fired. Yeah, but he added the an asterisk after the rf, which is basically delete everything recursively. Yeah, don't do that. Unless for some reason you want to wipe everything off of your computer. Vidic says, I'm 14 years old. How to start learning this skill? Definitely check out freeCodeCamp.org. and start with the free lessons there, and that should be a great place to start. Preethi says, does the Notion work as expected? Yeah, it definitely does work as expected. When I first tried it out, I was surprised at like how accurately it picked up brain patterns and stuff. So I'm very impressed with it. Abdullah asks, what's the right pathway to teach myself coding? I'd definitely start out with some free resources. So you're in a great place right now, the Free Code Camp YouTube channel. Check out the freeCodeCamp.org lessons. And I would definitely start with some of the free resources first. If you decide that there's something you really want to learn and you want to pay for a course or something, that's fine. But I would start out with the Free Code Camp stuff first before you commit money to your learning. Oh, Rare says, can you put a link for the app, please? Yeah, I'll link it. Let me throw this in the chat. Grab this link. I'm going to throw this in the chat, and then I'm also going to put it in the GitHub repo. So if you go to the GitHub repo, you'll see it right there. Where's this at? There you go. So now if you go to the GitHub repo, which the link is in the description, you can just click the link, and that should take you right to the demo. All right. Somebody asked a question. I cannot read their name. It's in different characters than I'm used to reading. It says, how do you focus on programming for a long time? For example, during the month or half year, what do you usually do to force yourself? Well, getting paid to program is a good way to force myself to do it. Like, I have a boss, I have teammates that'll check up on what I'm doing. So that's a good way to force myself. Doing these coding live streams and coding videos helps as well, because I have people that, they can see how much progress I've made. They're expecting me to do the streams and things like that. So that helps. Setting goals does help. But yeah, I'd say whenever I have to code to make money to pay the bills and take care of my family, that's a good way to. It's a good motivation, right? I can't not work, right? I have to do my work. Now, I do like to code, so that's also a good motivation. But sometimes even things you like to do, you don't want to do all the time, right? So I like to work out, but I don't like to work out all the time, right? So. Yeah, for those times when I don't feel as motivated or coding doesn't seem as fun as it normally does, then what does help is just the responsibility of, people are counting on me. My family's counting on me. My teammates are counting on me. My company is counting on me. So kind of that feeling of responsibility helps as well. And if it's just in terms of feeling like I can do it, to be honest with you, I probably drink too much caffeine. So that's also another way I get motivated. Good question, though. I am skipping over a few questions because they're repeat questions that I've already answered. So apologies if it seems like I'm not answering your question, but I've had a couple questions that I've answered multiple times, so I'm just kind of skipping over. Lockraj says, is this good for any kind of mobile application? I'd say, yeah, definitely. You can use React Native for Android, iOS, or web, and actually other things as well. So there are ways to use React Native to build, for instance, smart TV apps. I'm trying to think of some of the other stuff I've seen. I've seen some weird stuff like building a Word document out of React Native code, but in terms of actual useful things, I don't know, maybe there is some use case for that, but I kind of thought it was just a project just to say like, hey, look what we can do. So yeah, but definitely React Native, I think, is a great way to build apps for multiple platforms. So Soterios says, have you had any other ideas for applications with Notion? Yeah, for sure. So I've had ideas for like a game. I really would love to do a game for children to help them learn how to calm themselves down. And I think it would be very helpful for children who maybe have issues with like obsessive compulsive disorder, issues with anger, issues with anxiety. That way, like they can, in some type of like video game type of way that would be very, like they would really get into, like something fun that they would want to do, but in reality, it's teaching them to calm themselves down. So the things in the game are changing based on their brain patterns. And success in the game can only be achieved through making their brain show like calm patterns, right? So that's the high level goal of the game I would like to make. I'm not exactly sure the best way to go about that. I'm not a game designer, right? And I'm not like a scientist that studies brainwaves either. So I just had the idea, and I imagine it's going to take a lot of trial and error for me to make something useful. But that's one of my ideas. Another idea I have is trying to just link this up with something that can help with like Internet of Things. So some product like If This Then That or Zapier. So those would basically open up to somebody who's a non-coder the ability to use the Notion headset with a variety of other tools that they would just be able to basically do some like drag and drop coding, I guess, with those If This Then That and Zapier. So those are my two like main ideas for it. I also have like just a few other updates to this app we've been working on that might make it a little bit more useful. And I mean, let's face it, the UI is not great looking right now. So there's some basic stuff that could probably help. All right, I've got somebody was like spamming the channel. It did get automatically hidden, so that's good, but I'm trying to make my way through it. Wow, a lot of stuff in there. Yeah, please don't try to spam the channel. All right. Okay, a few more people shouting out where they're from. Someone from Amsterdam, Angola. Netherlands, Detroit, Brazil, Kenya. Awesome. Pakistan, more from Brazil. I have a question. How long have you been programming? I guess it's been a long time now. Let me think. So, been like a couple years at 1, 2, 5, 6, 8. I'm gonna say like 8-ish years, something like that. I don't remember for sure, but I'm gonna say around 8 years of programming, like actually programming for money, right? Like I messed around with some stuff before that, but like really programming like as a job, probably around 8 years at this point. Oh my goodness, I need to just hide this user. All right, I'm gonna hide. There was a user that kept spamming the channel. Luckily, the messages were getting hidden, but it's just making it hard to see the questions on here. Okay. Umair says, which project do you suggest for React.js beginner to take them to the next level? I don't know for sure. You probably want to do a project that's a bit more complex, that like you need to make API calls, maybe do some more advanced state management, something that would require like the context API or Redux. That's probably going to help you get more to the next level. I guess the complexity of it will help you kind of think through better like ways of programming and organizing things. So in terms of exactly what that would be, I don't know. It could be a lot of different types of projects. I'm not sure, but if it incorporates those, like for instance, maybe like a message board, some sort of forum with the ability to make posts, the ability to comment on posts, things like that, that would require a little bit of thought, right? So maybe something like that would be a good thing to work on. But I mean, to be honest, if you find like open source projects that are React based, that may be even better, because you'll get exposure to some more advanced code and you'll be able to provide like useful help for that. So maybe, check out something like that. Umar says, when to jump from React.js to React Native? I'd say you could jump whenever you want. Just whenever the opportunity arises that you need to build a native app, then jump right into React Native. Cash App asks, what's the difference between XML and JSON? I find JSON to be cleaner to look at. To be honest with you, XML has a lot of angle brackets that I don't know. They basically serve the same purpose, though. It's just a matter of the syntax. Rares Sandu says, what's the difference between React.js and React Native? I actually just did a video explaining the difference. So if you check the description to this live stream, there's a link to my YouTube channel in the description. Click on that, and one of the latest videos on that channel is going to be the difference between React and React Native. So check that out. I give some examples and do more like of a thorough answer to that. Yeah, definitely. If any of you enjoyed the live stream and want to see more stuff by me, I did a lot of previous live streams on freeCodeCamp, and then I did some live streams and tutorial videos on my own YouTube channel. So please, check it out. If you like it, subscribe, watch some of the videos. The more people that watch and say they get something out of it, the more videos and streams I'll try to do. I like doing it, but really, like, only if people feel like it's useful will I keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want it. I'm not making any money off it or anything, but if I'm helping people, I want to keep doing it. Lewis wants to know more about the second argument of useEffect. So yeah, the useEffect argument. So let's see where we're using it. So for instance, on this useEffect, the first argument is this whole thing, right? This function. The second one is this array. Now, the array, everything we put in this array, anytime this updates, so these are two pieces of state. Focus and user are two pieces of state. If focus changes or if user changes, this is going to run. If something else changes that's not inside this array, this will not run. Okay, so that's what that second argument does. If we left this empty, then it would only run when the app first mounts, and it would never run again unless the app unmounted and remounted. If we didn't pass in a second argument at all, this would run every time anything changed. Any piece of state that changed, if we're using Redux, like any piece of the Redux store change, this would change every single time, or it would run every single time. That's what that second thing does. There may be more to it, so check out the documentation for React. But in terms of like my coding experience, those are basically like the three cases that come up most often. Dola Soul says, what's your schedule? Will you be live tomorrow? Probably not tomorrow. I got to work tomorrow. I would say the soonest that I would live stream again, maybe like Tuesday at some point. I do have to work Tuesday, but I might be able to squeeze a live stream in. We'll see how it goes. Let's see. Trung says, excuse me, may I ask, how do I learn HTML and CSS well? Check out freeCodeCamp.org. The first lessons are all on HTML and CSS. That's a great place to start. Beyond that, practice is just keep practicing. Look at projects that are good. See how they do things. But freeCodeCamp.org is a way to start. Garvit was asking about how to learn React. FreeCodeCamp.org actually has React lessons, and they're pretty good. In fact, when I at work, when I first got hired, one of the things that I needed to do was teach the rest of my team React. They didn't really have very much experience with it, and one of the first things I did is showed them the FreeCodeCamp.org lessons. I had them go through all the lessons, ask me any questions they had, and then after that, we would pair program together for a week at a time until I went through everybody on the team, and that's how I went about, getting them more knowledgeable about React. So I would definitely check out those lessons. Thomas Yeager says, why did you not use Redux in this application? A lot of your state you used in multiple components. Redux or Context API would have been beneficial here. Actually, Thomas, so I don't have multiple components. I just have one big component for this project. So, actually, I think you had asked about this a little bit earlier in the video. So, just to kind of reiterate that, I normally do use Redux or Context API when I have a larger application. So that is a good call for a larger app. AMS, what certificate is worth the most on Workforce? I don't really know much about what certificates. For what I do, I don't need certificates, so I don't worry about that. If anybody else knows about like computer type certificates, let us know in the chat. Carrie says, hi, just started learning to code. Wanted to say thanks for taking the time to explain every detail. Oh, you're welcome. I try to explain as much as I can. So, but if I miss something, feel free to ask a question, but thank you for saying that. Cheris says, hi, awesome stream, awesome chat, by the way. Oh, thank you so much. Cashyap says, what is the purpose? And then quickly followed up with the purpose of XML and JSON files. I'm glad, because I was about to go into a big talk about the purpose of life, but the purpose of XML and JSON files usually is some type of configuration. So it's just a bunch of key value pairs to let some type of program know like some information that you want it to know. And it's a standard. So if you make an API call, you're probably going to get back JSON, maybe XML if it's a little older or something like that. But it's a standard way to provide information to an application. Sorry if that froze things for a second. That was weird. My computer just kind of stalled for a second there. But let's see. Atindra says, can I follow the Brain Computer app series to learn React Native if I only know React? You'll definitely learn about React Native. I don't know if you'll if it would be like the best tutorial, but you will definitely learn something about React Native for sure. All right. Well, that's pretty much it. Hopefully, I got to all the questions, and yeah. So I'm gonna log off now, and finish up the stream and take the rest of the Sunday to hang out with my family. We're probably gonna have watch a movie here soon or something. So thank you all so much for watching. This was cool. It was, hey, we accomplished what we wanted to accomplish today, and I'm definitely gonna redo that part 2 of the stream. So look out for that coming up. I'll probably do it as a live stream, and we'll just kind of go back over what we did in part 2 that got deleted. Beyond that, I'm kind of wondering what to stream about next. So maybe more of this project, maybe a different project. Let me know what you think and what might be beneficial to you. And if you like this, please subscribe to this channel and check out our other videos. Check out my YouTube channel, links in the description. Feel free to reach out to me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm on like all this stuff. So just find me, and if you send me a question, I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. So have a great week. I don't know when the next time I'll stream is. I'll try to stream at some point in the week if I can. But if I don't, have a great week, and hope to see y'all next time. Thanks for watching.